The mothers arrived separately, as mothers always do when the reckoning finally comes. Ruth came from the north in the same dented silver Buick that still smelled of menthol and lavender sachets kept in the glove box like a confession never quite made. Camel coat, one missing button, mouth set in the same hard line she had worn since 1981. Dolores arrived from the south in the black town car that someone else drove, pearls clicking like small, polite handcuffs, patent leather purse large enough to hold every apology she had ever swallowed. They met where the county road gives up and becomes gravel, Devil's Elbow, where the only devil is memory that refuses to stay buried. 30 yards away, under the single working street lamp, stood their children. The masculine, Ruth's daughter, wore scuffed boots and a faded Carhartt jacket, carrying the kind of stillness that comes from knowing how to fix anything except the past. Hands in her pockets, shoulders squared like someone who had spent a lifetime standing between the world and the person she loved. Beside her stood the feminine, Dolores' son, softer in every line, open coat, gentle mouth, eyes that had learned to carry whole storms without ever raising their voice. He did not brace himself, he received. Their hands were locked so tightly they looked like one hand with 10 fingers. Ruth spoke first. She always did. Dolores treated silence like good silverware, only brought out for company. "You happy?" Ruth asked her daughter, the girl who had never been a girl in the way Ruth had needed her to be. The masculine looked at the man beside her, then back at her mother. "Happier than I've ever been," she said, voice low and steady. "And scared you'll punish me for it." Ruth gave a short, cracked laugh. "I lost the right to punish you the day you started changing the oil in my car because I was too proud to ask a man for help." Dolores opened her purse and removed the silver cigarette case she had not touched since the 90s. She snapped it shut. The sound cut the night like a verdict. "He's too soft," Dolores said, nodding toward her son as if softness were a crime scene. "My daughter is in love with someone who cries at commercials." The feminine stepped forward, quiet, unshakable. "I cry at commercials because some things are still beautiful, Mother," he said. "Your daughter cries in the truck when no one is looking because some things still hurt. We balance." Ruth felt the words land in her chest like stones dropped into still water. She pulled a fresh pack of Virginia Slims from her pocket, bought that morning on pure animal instinct, and offered one to Dolores. Dolores stared at it for a long moment. Then she took it. They lit up together. 2 old women, smoking under a street lamp, while their children waited to see if the curse would finally choke or exhale. Ruth blew smoke into the dark. "I raised you to be a lady," she said to the masculine. "Told you how to smile when you wanted to scream, how to cross your legs, how to make a man feel tall. You threw every lesson back in my face and built a life anyway. I hated you for it." She swallowed. "Then I realized I was just jealous." Dolores let her cigarette fall. The ember glowed between her shoes like a tiny heart giving up. "I raised him to be a man," she said, barely above a whisper. "Told him big boys don't cry, don't feel too much, don't let anyone in. He ignored me and became the safest place I have ever known." Her voice cracked. "I hated him for it. Then I realized I missed being allowed to be soft myself." Ruth crushed her cigarette under the heel of a shoe that had walked too many miles pretending. "I am not asking forgiveness," she said to her daughter. "I am asking permission to say it out loud. I was wrong. You were never the problem. My fear was." She turned to the feminine. "I was cruel to you in my head for years, because you made it okay for her to be exactly who she is. And that meant I had to admit I spent a lifetime making that wrong. Dolores reached into her purse again and pulled out a small velvet box. The locket she had worn every day since her own mother's funeral, heavy with photographs of people who never got to be happy. "I was going to be buried wearing this," she said. "I thought the weight belonged to me." She held it out to her son. "Take it. Put something light in it instead." He opened the locket. The old photographs were gone. Inside was a single folded note in Dolores's careful handwriting. "I am sorry I taught you to be hard. Thank you for staying soft anyway." Ruth stepped forward, one rough hand on her daughter's cheek, the other on the feminine's shoulder. "You have my blessing," she said. "Not because I understand it all, because love this honest should not have to ask twice." Dolores moved beside her, pearls and camel coat now trembling on the same side of Grace. "And mine," she said, her voice opening like dawn. "Because you taught me a man can be gentle and still be a man. And maybe I could have been gentler too." The masculine and the feminine looked at each other, something ancient unclenched in the air between them. Ruth wiped her eyes with her sleeve, leaving streaks of cheap mascara and cheaper regret. "Go," she said, "before I start bawling and ruin whatever dignity I have left." Dolores laughed, small, startled, real. The two of them walked away, hands still locked, toward whatever came next. The mothers watched them go, not with pride. Pride had been the poison, but with something quieter, lighter, almost like peace. Behind them, the street lamp flickered once, then held steady, burning gold against the dark. The rot did not shatter. It simply loosened its fingers. And somewhere above, the universe leaned back, satisfied. The mothers had spoken, and for the first time in generations, they had told the truth.